Hi, today we are back with another topic, and today's topic is environmental economics, which is one of the subfields of economics, and it's really very interesting subject to study because it studies the impact of economic policies on environment or the financial impact of environmental policies on on the economy as a whole. So let us move ahead. So let's start with the introduction part. What is environmental economics? So, in simplest terms, environmental economics is an area of economics that deals with the relationship between the economy and the environment. Now, environmental economics helps us to understand some very important as well as controversial issues such as climate change policy, nuclear power, recycling policy, traffic congestion charging, etc. And this is also a very exciting field and exciting, like I already introduced earlier, that it's very exciting because in this field of study, we study or we try to understand at the very much heart of many public debates and controversies. Now, under this field, what environmental economists study? So, under this field, they study the economics of natural resources from both the sides. For example, from their extraction and use, also till the waste product return and how they return to the environment. They also study how economic incentives hurt or help the environment and how they can be used to create sustainable policies and environmental solutions. It has got a wide scope. Now, in broader terms, in the words of Professor Stephen Smith from the University College of London, environmental economics looks at how economic activity and policy affect the environment in which we live. Like some production processes generate pollution, for example, power station emissions can cause acid rains and also contribute to global warming at a large scale. Also, household consumption decision to affect the environment. For example, more consumption can means more waste sent to polluting incinerator or garbage dumps. So, like, this is a very interesting field of study. Now, let us go quickly through the scope of environmental economics. First of all, externalities, or we can say unintentional effects on the environment or human health resulting from economic activity. Permit trading, which is also referred to as cap and trade. This approach was successfully used to address the acid rain issue in the 1990s. It's also been proposed as a policy tool to address release of the greenhouse gases that cause global warming. It's very famous in European countries. Cost benefit analysis of environmental regulations, a balance between economic development and environmental quality, the economics of biofuels, waste management, land cleanup, and other environmental technologies and industries, valuation that aims to assign dollar values to natural resources or any currency value to natural resources. Valuation also deals with nature provided ecosystem services such as erosion prevention by trees or water filtering by plants. International cooperation that we'll study in detail further, and it's a multidisciplinary application. It has multidisciplinary application, etc. Now, there are a few central questions in the field of environmental economics. What are they? For example, the first question says that if environmental protection is costly, how much should we spend on pollution control? Here we means the entire country or the nation or the economy or the government. Next question is it worth reducing pollution to zero, or should we accept some level of pollution because of other benefits associated with it? Another question says, in making these decisions, how can we compare the benefit of a clean environment with the cost of pollution control? Further, unlike many of the conventional goods and services that contribute to household living standards, clean air and other environmental goods do not have market price. So we need some other way to work out how much they are worth. Then the question is, what techniques are available to help us do this and how reliable are they? Further, is government intervention in the economy needed to reduce pollution, or can we rely on the market economy to get us to the optional outcome? And it's certainly not the last one, but here we can go ahead like with what form should government policies take to cut pollution? These are a few central questions. The questions are many, unlimited, but here is a list, a short list of those questions which are being gaining so much attention these days. Now, what is the nature of environmental economics? See, like I already said, that it is a very, very exciting, interesting branch of study or field of study. So it has got a wider scope. So environmental economics is considered both as positive and normative science. It also covers both micro and macro aspects of different pollution problems. Now, why and how is it so? See, why it is considered as positive science? Because in environmental economics, we study the cause and effect relationship. So, like we have already studied in our earlier lectures, that a field of study is considered under the positive aspect if there is a study of the cause and effect relationship under it. So, definitely under environmental economics, we study that. So it covers the positive, it can be called as a positive science. And if the problem is related to policy measures, then it is considered as normative aspect. Therefore, environmental economics is also a normative science because it prescribes the goals of environmental policies. So it talks about the norms also. This is how it can be considered as both positive and normative science. Now, environmental economics is actually an application of scientific theories and general application of welfare economics. So now you can see how much wider the scope is. Now, why does both micro and macro, it covers both the micro and macro aspect? Because it works on both, on the individual as well as on the economy as a whole. On both the level it works, and the application works upon. So this way it covers both the micro and macro aspects of different pollution problems or environmental issues. Now there is a very simple model to explain the working of, and this model has certain assumptions. Like first of all, it is assumed here that the economy is producing two sets of goods only. Now there is composite good, capital M, that is being represented by, which is the aggregate of all existing goods and services. An environmental quality good, which also represents certain quantity of emission reduction. Now what is ME? Here the ME curve is the production frontier that explains the trade-off between economic activity and emission reduction. As you can see here on the on the y-axis, it shows the economic activity. It represents the economic level of economic activity that is being going on in the economy, and on the x-axis, it shows the emission reduction. So here this ME is the production frontier that shows the trade-off between these two things. Now if we go further in this figure number 1, see, now if the economy moves, for example this point S, there it shows almost equal participation from both the levels, like whatsoever economic activity is, there is an equal proportion emission reduction at point S. So now from this point S, if the economy moves to point A is here, if the economy moves on point A on the ME frontier or the ME curve, it means more production because of the more of economic activity. And here at this point, emission reduction, there is no emission reduction actually, it is on the same point because on the same axis. So at point A you can see emission reduction is constant, whereas economic activity is increasing. Whereas on the other hand, if the economy moves from point S to point B, which is here, point B is here on the ME curve, it means what it means that here you can see there is on almost same level of economic activity, this straight line here parallel to the x-axis, but it shows more of emission reduction. So here economic activity is constant at the same level of L, point S and point L, but there is more of emission reduction. So these 2 points represents two different conditions here. Now on this Mr. Jan Hodge points out that what we will find is that choices made about the environment depend upon similar factors as choices made in any other area of economics. As you can see, now it depends upon which point to go for, whether we want to go for more of economic activity with almost constant emission reduction, or we want to go for same level of economic activity with more of emission reduction. So that is why we called it a trade-off between economic activity and emission reduction. Now our view of changes in environmental quality depends upon the supply and demand factor. Okay, so what is supply, or what is the force of supply here? It is the production. And what is demand factor? It is the preference for clean environment. So in a way there is a choice, or there is a trade-off that depends upon how much of the environment is supplied for particular purposes and how much is demanded. So this was just a simple model to show that how it works in terms of demand and supply, and what are the choices with us, what is the trade-off. So now here there's the force of supply and demand and market instrument used by the state are very important issues in environmental policy. So that is how it shows an economic scenario here. Further, now a few applications of environmental economics. Certainly applications are unlimited. I have enlisted a few. Like first of all, it's the economy environmental analysis. Under this, environmental economics is primarily concerned with the impact of economic activities on environment and its implication for the individual firm, industry, and in fact the economy as a whole. Now economists have formulated in economy environment models to explain the various economic activities and their external effects also. For example, the material balance model, the Leontief abatement model, etc. Second of the applications is eco-development, where the main objective of environmental economics is to maintain a balance between economic development and environmental quality. In order to achieve this, environmental economists have to explore the various socio-economic possibilities to reduce pollution and uplift the standard of living of the people. This objective gained momentum after the publication of the report on the limits to growth. Further, third one is welfare approach. So under this, I would say environmental economics has emerged as a discipline to tackle environmental problems from an economic welfare framework. The welfare framework covers scarce resources and market failures due to property rights, and ethical aspects of different problems of pollution. Thus, it suggests the best possible means to tackle the environmental problems. Further, dynamic and stock flow analysis. The mainstream economics is largely confined to the static problem of market behavior, but environmental management issues are about resources and are dynamic in nature. I would rather not say that mainstream economics is deals with static problems. Definitely, there are dynamic problems. There are problems; those are dynamic in nature, but uh, completely in a comparative way, we can say this. Moreover, resources have a stock and they have a rate of depletion and replenishment, such as oil, minerals, and forests. Thus, there is the inevitable stock flow dimension to environmental issues. Further, environmental values. Environmental issues are about resources. The neoclassical economists have analyzed the use of various resources like fisheries, forests, fossil fuels, and water in a rational manner and with environmental values. In fact, environmental values are economic values. It is important for the society to conserve its limited resources in the interest of economic efficiency and welfare. Further, clean technology. Presently, environmental pollution is caused by misuse of existing technology and failure to develop better one. Environmental economists are in favor of appropriate and clean technologies which provide the most rational use of natural resources and energy and to protect the environment. And then it's international cooperation that we studied earlier, that we read earlier, and now it's a little bit in detail. There are many international issues like hazards of boundary shipments, unwanted substances, and common property resources, which need international cooperation among nations. There are many negative effects of inadequate toxic wastes generated within countries and hazardous goods exported to other countries. Most countries of the world are insisting on uniform standard and environmental regulations for all nations. Other issues related to international common property resources, especially the share of river water and forest land, etc. Also, conservation policy. So, the application of environmental economics here is the long-standing foundation of environmental economics lies in conservation economics, which tends to emphasize the impact of economic activities on demand for productive resources and energy resources. It suggests the optimal strategy in the utilization of natural resources in a rational manner. And further, it's the multidisciplinary base. How? Environmental economics is inherently a multidisciplinary subject. It consists of an integration of many varied disciplines such as biology, ecology, physical sciences, ethics, and mainstream economics also. Therefore, it has a wide scope and applications. Well, these are a few sources that I referred to. I hope I could explain it a bit to you. All you have to do is keep studying, keep learning, and if you want, you can like this video and subscribe to my channel. Take care.